G'day guys, I'm Brendan and welcome to the Beginner's Beekeeping Journal Super Spectacular. So on today's episode, we're talking all about supers. Now supers are the boxes you put on top of your brood box and you collect your honey in. So we're talking about Langstroth supers today. So here we have a deep. This is a full-size deep box like you'd normally use for a brood box. Usually they're interchangeable with every other Langstroth hive in there. Over here, we've got what's called an ideal super. Now, put them side by side, you can see that they're actually quite a lot shallower. The bees can actually fill this a lot quicker, which can allow you to get quicker honey harvest. It's up to you whether you use them or not. I'm going to be experimenting a little bit with both the deeps and the ideals, because we've got two hives this morning that we're actually going to be putting them on. Okay, so the other thing you need to consider is a queen excluder. Now, queen excluder is a handy little tool that's used for when you're wanting to harvest honey. It's only used for honey production. In a general hive setup, if you're not worried about honey, you wouldn't use one. You just let the queen roam free. But on the super, on the brood box, you'd put the queen excluder down on top of your brood box, and then you can put your honey super on top. What the queen excluder does is it stops that queen from getting from the brood box into the super where you want to harvest your honey. So you don't have to worry about things like darkened honeycomb or brood or larva being inside that honey. Now, you've probably noticed that these two boxes are of different size. That's because we've got an 8-frame deep here and a 10-frame ideal, because I have one of each hive today that's actually getting a super put onto it. 10 frame we're going to chuck the ideal onto, as it's a pretty strong hive ready to go, and it actually desperately needs more room, so we definitely want that on today. And we're going to experiment a little bit with the deep on the 8 frame. Now, there's a couple of different types of queen excluders that you can get. One's plastic, one's metal. There's a few other different types as well, but these are the main two that I use. They've both got their advantages and disadvantages to them, such as the plastic ones here. They're a lot cheaper, a little bit flexible, a little bit more forgiving. You don't have to worry about them breaking too much. The disadvantage to these guys is they don't last as long. They get heat damage and eventually they'll grow brittle and crack. With your metal ones, they're not quite so forgiving. They're not very bendy. If you try to bend them, you're probably going to break the pins off them, which means the queen's going to get through. Now, the metal ones can actually transfer quite a bit of heat through your hive, which is the downfall to them. But apart from that, they are strong and they will last a long time. So it's up to you guys which one you want to choose. I'm using both. Let's see how they go. Now, in the super itself, you've got your frames. Depending on what you're looking to get out of your hive, whether you want that nice pure honeycomb which you can cut out and suck the honey straight from, or you want to use an extractor, put them in, spin that honey out and get the honey that way, and then put the comb back in for the bees to reuse, is going to depend on what you want to do with your frames. So to start with, you've seen in my last couple of episodes I've gone through about wiring and adding foundation to a frame. The foundation and the wire in itself is a great way to hold natural honeycomb together if you want to go foundationless. It will hopefully, for the most part, hold it up in a spinner. But if you want that little bit extra security, you can use foundation. It's pre-made wax ready to go that allows the bees to build it up a lot quicker and hopefully fill it a bit quicker as well. Your other option, if you want the honeycomb, is to leave them blank. What happens is they'll build the honeycomb naturally like they would in the wild, fill the frames up, and you can just come along, cut around the outside of it and split it up, and you've got that nice beautiful honeycomb. So in these two, I've actually got both. And what I'm doing is I'm called what's doing what's called checkerboarding. So I've got one with foundation, then I go one blank, one with foundation, one blank, and I do that all the way through. That way I'm getting the best of both worlds. I'm gonna get that nice honeycomb and honey that I can spin out and put into jars. So now you know what we're using today. I'm gonna go get suited up, do a quick hive inspection, and we'll get straight into it and I'll show you how to put these guys on. Okay, so we've just done the hive inspection on this side. As you can see, having a quick look down, it's packed full of bees. They're actually building burr comb on the bottom of these frames as well, which is a pretty good indication that they're looking for more space. There's heaps of capped cells in there. We've seen drones, we've seen some larvae, all different life stages. We didn't see the queen, but those things tell me that the queen's definitely there, or at least has been in the last couple of days. So we're ready to put this super on. It's quite easy to do. Get your queen excluder. You want to try not to squash any bees. I do it quite regularly because they like hanging around on the side. It's rather annoying. I don't mean to, but I do it. And you just want to get this off nice and square. Make sure you're covering up the ends because you don't want to give any gaps that the queen can actually get through. So just looking nice and square on there. I can't see any gaps. We're going to get our super, put that on top. Once again, checking that it's nice and square on there. And with these frames on top, we're going to want to give them a little bit of space. You don't need to use all 10 frames in the 8 frames in this one in the super. You can leave one out, which allows you to space them out a bit more, giving you thicker comb. But I've got a bit of space in here anyway, I think, so we should still be able to get some nice thick comb off it. I'm just going to make sure they're relatively evenly spaced, and that gives them plenty of room to go. So we're going to put the lid back on it. We do have a few bees sitting in the lid here, which we're really hoping we're not going to squish putting back on. And there we have it, the super's on. Now, if you want to, you can put a lock over these, it's called an M-lock. You can use ratchet straps, etc. That seals it all nice and tightly together. I haven't been using them so far because they've been pretty stable. It's something definitely to keep an eye out whether you want to use them or not. But for the moment, I'm not. It's recommended. But now we'll go over to the next one and see how they're going. Alright guys, so I'm going to make this quick because these guys are getting a little bit upset about us being here. We've been in here for a while just doing an inspection. Put in a couple of hive beetle traps and we have found that they are building into the roof. So that's a pretty good sign that these guys are ready for a super. We've also found that they were starting to get a little bit honey bound, going by this frame which was in the hive. So I'm going to have that myself, I think. So it's going to be the same deal again, but this time we've got our metal excluder. I'm going to put that on, careful not to crush any bees. And they're all staying off the edge for the moment, which is a good thing for me. We're going to get our ideal. And put that on top. Like that, and we've already got bees coming up into it. That's an awesome sign. Chuck our lid on. Make sure it's all nice and square, and that's it. Now this guy does have an M-lock. It came with the hive when I bought it. I'm going to adjust this and put this on a little bit later, but in the meantime, that's everything you need to know about supers. And that's the buzz.